Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Funke Afolabi-Brown. Let's just make sure we go live. If you're here on and you want to stop by and say hi, I would love that. I don't bite, I'm super friendly. Okay. All right. So I had a question asked of me today. Actually, two people asked me this question, and I felt, okay, you know what? This is definitely worthy of a live. And so that's what I'm doing. And for those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Funke Afolabi-Brown. I'm the founder of Restful Sleep MD and the Restful Sleep Place. And really, our mission is to help people improve their sleep, right? Help children specifically through our practice, the Restful Sleep Place, and also help their parents sleep better so they can thrive and reach their fullest potential. So if you have never met me, there it is. Now, back to this question that I've had two people in one day, and I feel, okay, this is definitely something worth sharing. And the question was, what do I do with my mind when it wakes up and it's racing at 3 a.m.? Like they both said 3 a.m. And the interesting thing was that the question was asked by a teenager and also an adult, right? So it was a teenager like in their 13, 15, and an adult as well. So the strategies I'm going to share with you are strategies that can be applied whether you have a teenager or whether you are the one that's waking up with your mind racing at 3 a.m. I don't know what it is with 3 a.m. It could be 1 a.m. It could be 2 a.m. But many times people say 3 a.m. In fact, it might be like 3:02 or something. But regardless of what that time is, the issue is this. You've gone to bed, you were having your really nice, quiet slumber, and then all of a sudden your mind is racing. You're wondering where it's coming from. You're trying to like go back to sleep, and then you find yourself tossing and turning, and then you look back and watch the clock and look at the clock again, and time is ticking. Morning is almost near. You're starting to get frustrated. What are you supposed to do? So today I'm actually going to do something which, you know what, I usually do that. I share strategies that either I have tried or I have recommended that my clients try, right? So that 3 a.m. wake up is something that I have experienced and I do experience from time to time, depending on what stage of life I'm in. So I'm literally going to be sharing with you what I do. And I believe that this is something that has worked so well for me. It's really me implementing, what is scientific evidence, but really bringing it to real life situation. Okay. So this is what happens. You've had your routine, or maybe you've not had a routine, but you eventually get into bed and then you wake up. What do you do? The first thing, number one, that I always recommend is just do a quick body scan. Like your mind may be running a mile a minute, but figure out how to slow down, especially once you start to catch those thoughts, to slow down and do a quick body scan or a slow body scan, whatever it takes to get you to drop from that racing thoughts, mile a minute mode to just being centered. Now, when I talk about doing a body scan, it's really just really assessing, is there discomfort? Right? Because when we are projecting into the future with our thoughts, those racing thoughts, or we're reflecting about the past, we are never in the moment, right? And so, what that body scan strategy does is it helps you kind of drop into your body to say what is going on. So, you might notice that, well, I am hot, right? It's the summer and nowadays, it gets really hot. Most times you may be uncomfortable and maybe that's what it is. And in that case, it's an easy fix. Hopefully, maybe you crank up the AC, you turn on the fan, or, you get the heavy blankets off or something, whatever, you can address it. It might be that you're thirsty, right? So maybe your throat feels dry. This is what the body scan. It is a powerful, powerful strategy. Y'all. So you are noticing, you're like, okay, maybe you need a sip of water, right? So you could get up, take a sip of water. It might be that you need to pee. Right? You might find out that your bladder is full and you need to go to the bathroom. Okay, so walk gently to the bathroom, use the bathroom. It might be that you've been laying on one side of your body and you're uncomfortable and you need to shift position. So these are literally practical things that you can do with our body scan. You can address those issues right in the minute and go back to continue sleeping. It might be that there's light coming from somewhere, right? I always share that I always use a sleep mask because any type of light at all, whether it's light from the hallway, whether it's light from outside, it makes me wake up. So this is something that I never forget to do. So I just always want to make sure that that's the case. So you want to address that real quick. You want to make sure that that's not the issue. And you really then just want to make sure that I'm actually, can you guys hear me? I hope so. Okay. So just checking that. So you want to make sure if that's the case, if you notice that there's light coming from somewhere, then you want to address that, put a sleep mask on. So the first thing is getting that body scan. Now, if you've done that and your mind is still racing, you've readjusted, you're no more hot, there's not light that's disrupting you, your bladder is empty now, you're not thirsty anymore, then you move on to the next thing. And the next thing I always say is, especially if you're now at the point where you're starting to feel frustrated, you're like, okay, I've done all the troubleshooting. There doesn't seem to be anything clear that's keeping me awake except for these thoughts. And those thoughts may be negative thoughts, they may be neutral thoughts, they may be positive thoughts. The bottom line is they're really, they're really pretty inconvenient if they're keeping you awake. So that's the point, okay, where I recommend that you might need to get out of bed. You don't always have to get out of bed. I mean, you may have read it where they say, oh, if you've been in bed for 20 minutes, get out of bed and do something boring. I usually don't tend to recommend that routinely because you might be awake for 20 minutes and you're just chilling, you're just hanging out, you're not frustrated, you don't have intrusive thoughts, in which case you may not need to get out of bed. Or you might be awake for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and your heart is pounding. You're so uncomfortable. You're restless. Your mind is racing. You feel like you're spiraling. You're not waiting to be in that situation for 20 minutes before getting out of bed. So this is where really listening to your body, where you're like, oh my goodness, I'm starting to feel discomfort. I'm starting to feel like my mind is racing so much that I need to address it, in which case then you move forward and then you might need to get out of bed. Yes, actually, you should get out of bed. The reason why is if you've been in bed, and this is especially if this has become something that's a habit, your mind starts to not be clear on what you should be doing because your mind makes associations very quickly and it starts to associate being in bed with being awake, being frustrated, and you have what we call that increased cognitive arousal. So you want to try to avoid that. And so that's really where you get out of bed. And then what do you do when you get out of bed? Some folks will say, do something boring. I say, absolutely not. Because if what you are doing is going to be boring, then you're less likely to feel motivated to get out of bed. You would say, you know what, I would rather have my exciting, intrusive thoughts than get out of bed and do something boring. Like, no, I don't want to read like an old newspaper or like a dictionary or I don't know. I don't want to do that. You don't have to do something boring. The idea is you want to do something that keeps you relatively comfortable with being awake. Okay. So there's so many activities that you can do. You might decide to just read a book, maybe not like a thriller or something that's going to keep you so engaged that when the wave of sleep comes, you miss it, right? Maybe not watching a blockbuster movie or, going on to social media, maybe not doing that because then again, you might miss when sleep comes. But you want to do something more calming and relaxing, but enjoyable. So for me, I enjoy playing crossword puzzles, right? It's not mentally tasking for me and it's not like boring, right? So it's just enough for me to say, oh, look, I'm getting some words in, right? And I don't finish it. I could put it away once I start to feel sleepy. So that's an example. For some people, it may be like a craft book. It may be, again, reading a book. It may be listening to music, listening to a podcast. And then the part that I really like, especially when those thoughts are so intrusive, because you don't want to just like, okay, it's like a fly, I'm just going to ignore it. No, you want to try to say, okay, where are these thoughts coming from? And you may want to do some journaling. So this is where what I have done, this is sort of my modification that I have really implemented that just really just is extremely, extremely rewarding for me is that I write those thoughts down. Because I don't know if you saw some time ago, I posted and said, not every thought that comes to you is from you. So this is where you get the opportunity to say, I'm going to be like a detective. So where are these thoughts coming from? Okay, that's interesting, right? And some of those thoughts could be so bizarre. Like, I think I had a thought about, oh, I needed to submit a response to a Google review on my website at 3 a.m., y'all. At 3 a.m., I'm thinking about a Google. So you could tell like I'm in the business mode. But that being said, these thoughts are so random. Or it could be like somebody said something mean, or my kid did something that was very upsetting. Whatever it is, I just write it down, and I write it just as it's coming into my mind. I'm not changing the words. I'm not making it look pretty. This is for me. I'm not sharing it with anybody, right? And so you just pour it on paper. And sometimes by the time I'm done with a brain dump, it's like a page long, y'all. It is. I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder I can't sleep at 3 a.m., right? So I write all those things down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And I'm like, okay, anything else? Beautiful mind of mine. Okay. Are you sure? Okay, good. And so trying to literally empty, it might be like, oh, I need to order something for tomorrow. I need to, whatever. I write it all down. And then the next step is the really fun part. I create 2 columns. It is, I'm telling you, that I've been doing this now for some time, and it has been a game changer in getting me back to sleep in a state where I'm very relaxed. Again, after initially figuring out any physical issues, right? And so what do I do with those 2 columns? I keep one where I write the next step. Does that make sense? So for instance, I'm like, I need to order something. Oh, sometimes we need toilet paper for the house. And this is the thought. You guys don't want to come to my mind at all. You don't want to come visit, trust me. Okay, so I'm going to write that I'll order it from Amazon, right? I'll order it in the morning. So that's the next step. Or I have a situation that I'm trying to deal with, like in business, right? Me, I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I break through this level? How do I engage this, that, or the other? Then my next step would be, oh, I'll ask a mentor. I'll ask my coach. I'll speak to somebody who knows more. I'll research it in the morning. I'll read a book. The goal is that I'm providing options for my mind to say, I got you. You're not going to be left stranded with all these random thoughts, right? And so that's how I address this in the moment. So we're like, okay, I have a thought about, I'm a bad mom or something, the most random thing. Again, not every thought that comes to you is from you. So then I say, okay, how true is that? I've kept these kids alive for long enough, and I think they're turning out okay. So I'm actually not a bad mom. So that's actually untrue, right? So you're really navigating and questioning those thoughts, and you're providing the next step because you can't fix everything in that moment. And the goal is you're just really, essentially, I would say almost like emptying your mind so that all that mind clutter does not get in your way of sleep. And then the second column after writing the next step is like things that are out of your control. So of those things that you wrote down in terms of your mind dump, how many of them are like things you really can't do anything about? Maybe it has to do with somebody changing. You can't change them. So you got to let that go. So I intentionally will write regarding this, I let it go. I put it on paper. I let it go. This is out of my control. And there's a release that comes when you do that and you take that step. Now, we've dealt with any physical discomfort, right? We've done a body scan. Our mind is racing. What's going on? Uncomfortable. You've addressed it. Second is, you felt a lot of discomfort in bed and it feels like it's been a while and you're not feeling sleepy anymore. And so then you're getting back and you're journaling, right? And then the last thing I would say is you want to replace, it's almost like you've emptied a house, like you swept the house clean. If you don't maybe fill it with something positive, the clutter is going to find its way right back. So that's where you then replace it with positive thoughts or words. So I may just say, you know what? I'm at peace right now and I deserve to rest. It may be something like that. It may be me just saying a prayer, right? So you're filling your mind with thoughts that serve you. It may be me reading my Bible and replacing it with, okay, this is what the word says, that I am wonderfully and fearfully made. And I'm going to just say that I'm wonderfully and fearfully made. And then you've done that. So you've essentially cleaned house with a mind dump. And then you've replaced it with thoughts that serve you, thoughts that are more affirming. And usually two things happen by then. There's a sense of calm that comes. And I want you to really put this into practice tonight. And I want you to get back to me and let me know how it went. There's a sense of calm and peace that comes upon you when you're able to go through this like very systematically and be very intentional. And you can either go right back into bed, right? You may not be up for a long time. Go back into bed and resume sleep, because now you've addressed that, all that mind drama, right? You faced it on, and then you go back to sleep. Or you may just continue to do any other calming activity. So this might be where I'll pick up my puzzle. This might be where if you do scrapbooking, if you want to read, if you want to write some more, this is where that now comes in. So essentially, and then you might also practice on gratitude, whatever it is. So this is really how I have mastered this. And a lot of what I've just described to you is what we really practice in terms of people who have insomnia. So insomnia is when you have difficulties falling asleep, staying asleep, or when you're waking up super early and it's disrupting your day, right? So it's really some of that cognitive restructuring is kind of what I've described. And then the concept of stimulus control, which is when you're getting out of bed, when you're just really in this hyper aroused state. So those are some of the strategies. There's so many others, but I wanted to cover this today again because I got two people ask me the same question. So this is something that you can put into practice tonight. And then the issue then comes if this is a recurring pattern, is occurring every night or like more than 3 nights a week, then that might be the time to say, okay, I think I need to talk with someone. I think I need to get some help. And that's what we do at the Restful Sleep Place. We are a sleep practice that's really focused on providing sleep needs to your child, to you as a parent. And insomnia is one of the treatments insomnia treatment is one of the treatments we offer. We offer diagnostic testing. We really take you from that place of overwhelmed and tired of being tired and sleep deprived to a place where you can rest and thrive and live your fullest potential, both you and your child. So if you're at that point where you're like, okay, I think I need a little bit of help. I've done all this mind dump. I've done all this restructuring. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting into bed. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting into bed. And it's not working. Then it's time to give us a call, or you go to our website. I think that's a really good place to go, actually. And that is www.restfulsleepmd.com. And schedule a call with us, schedule an appointment. We do a 15-minute quick discovery call to kind of talk through what's going on and point you in the right direction. So I hope this has been helpful. Listen, if it has, I would love you to tag somebody. I would love you to let me know in the comments. I would love it if you put this into practice and let me know how it goes. I am really interested to know, because this has worked through my entire journey of dealing with insomnia. Even when I have episodic insomnia now where I just can't have a hard time sleeping, it's still the same principles that I put to play, and it works and it's effective, and I have no doubt that it's going to work for you. All right, everyone, until next time, I hope you rest well.